that's what I want to know. Did you ever have any thoughts of becoming anything other than a track star?
Well, I'll say this: that was my A plan.
Right.
So, and I didn't really have a B plan. So,
Right.
and so I fought that out.
You never had anything in the back of your mind like, man, if this doesn't work,
No,
you know,
no,
like
I had an A plan. No,
That's
but,
it.
but what I did though, along the way, I used my track and field ability to broaden the things that I do. I've run for office before.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Right.
And so I love politics and understand politics. I've been involved in that for years. Obviously, I have my own business, and I've run that for years. I make public appearances and all these different things. So basically, I've acted in movies and television and on stage.
Right.
So I've tried everything. And the greatest thing about it, something from everything brought me to where I am right now. So
Right.
that time I was on stage and doing movies, the movie part didn't work. I didn't have the passion that I needed to be really as successful as you should be, because you do need the passion. But guess what? Now when I make presentations, that experience helps that. And it
Yeah.
also helps me articulate what I want to do to the athletes. Being in front of these huge crowds allows me to be successful there. When I'm a UN ambassador going in to different countries and sitting down with presidents and all these people, well, guess what? All those years of competing around the world and seeing different languages and cultures gave me the experience. So the thing is that I didn't know where this would end up, but I tried everything in every country I went to. I went to museums, I ate the local food, I just
Right.
did all of that. And so now it's put me in a position where, and I joke with everyone, I'm double nickels now at 55. I can do whatever I want to do.
Right. Now, when you're an ambassador for the United Nations, does this role that you play, is it strictly for the food and agriculture?
Yeah, exactly. Food and Agriculture Organization. I
Right.
should have said that foul.
Right.
And I've been all over. And it's really based for food security.
Right.
And that's what's interesting, because you see the challenges that we have. And if you really look at it, with global warming and over 1 billion people go to bed every night hungry, it's a huge challenge. But the global warming is something that's scary. And I think what gets me, after meeting with presidents and meeting with people, I was down in Haiti and met with the president and all these people and all that, what worries me is water, fresh water, because we're running out of fresh water because we're damaging our oceans and streams around the world. And when we do that, guess what? We're going to start having militaries wanting to go get water, because of the countries that have the worst water and the most industrialized, a lot of cases. They're going to go take it from the places that don't have it. So that's something that's really concerning down the line too. It's not just food, but it's fresh water.
Yeah, when it comes to Haiti, man, one of the things that we always think of, one of the first things that come to mind about Haiti, at least for us that's living in America, is that you got a bunch of poor black people over there that can't help themselves. They need help. What's one of the big misconceptions about Haiti that we're unaware of?
Well, I think, first of all, they're proud people. And one of the challenges that I met when I was down there was reforestation. The forests were down to about 10% because a lot of people have cut the trees down and that kind of stuff. So there's so many people on that island, and it's really, really difficult to feed them. And then another thing, it's been like this for so long now, a lot of the people are institutionalized.
Yeah.
They just don't really know, they can't get it together, I should say. But the pride in the country is very helpful. And I think what's the reason when we have like this storm and why Haiti got washed away so bad, because all the trees are gone.
Right.
And so when I was down there, one thing we started a program which was planting trees with elementary school kids, basically saying, here, you plant a tree, that's your tree. So
Right.
kids take ownership, and it's like, they're not cutting my tree down, and start rebuilding the country that way. And I know that they went down and they were trying to create industries so that whether it's sugar cane or something, so that people have jobs and they have opportunity. It's a big challenge, but I think the first thing they've got to do is reforest that country, because whenever you have rain, you have mudslides, and you don't have an agricultural opportunity. On the same island is the Dominican Republic,
Right.
and they figured out a way to start clawing their way back. The vice president's a friend of mine, and she was the first lady, and so they started working on education in these different areas. I think to help Haiti, I really think the rest of the world doesn't just need to give money to Haiti. I think we need to help the Haitian people, even take many of them in, because there's such a strain on that economy with so few resources. I think we could do just as well around the world if we took Haitians in that wanted to say, hey, I want to help my country by going abroad and spending some time, getting education, raising a family, and then going back as it reforests and it gets itself strong. I think that's a great idea as well.
Right. Man, I want to first of all, before I go any further, I want to thank you for not, making me look like a fool by going in and answering that question, because I thought about what I said after I said, what's one of the biggest misconceptions that we're unaware of? But I'm glad you ran with it. But man, the more I see you out and doing the things that you do in the community, the more impressed I become. Because I always I'm a research buff, man. I'm one of those black guys that do read a lot. I am the dude with the book right. on the bus, while we're touring. I'm the dude that's back on my bunk, reading, or I'm on the plane and I got my book. But when I found out that you also support tissue and organ donations, I mean, dude, you got a hell of a book. Have you started on your autobiography already? Have you written a book already?
You know what? I've written 2 books, and the last one was 1996.
But have you written your autobiography already?
It was in 96 when I was still young.
Okay.
And so you talked about, it's funny, you talked about organ and tissue donation. Well, I was writing a book with a friend of mine whose sister needed a liver transplant, and she's since passed away, but we got involved in that issue. And I just felt ridiculous that I knew nothing about this, and the fact that right now there are about 120,000 people waiting for an organ, and people are dying every single day. Mm-hmm. And every known religion, everyone around the world supports organ donation. It's just there's a lack of knowledge about it, and we need to educate the public. Think of what higher thing can you do is when your time to go, you could stay as part of someone on earth. Mm-hmm. So that's something we really ramped up.
That's the ultimate reincarnation.
Yeah. You're someone lives on, and I've seen these stories of people, and it's just us educating. So we started a foundation, Wendy Marks Foundation for Organ Donor Awareness, and so we were trying to create
What's it called?
Awareness. Wendy Marks Foundation for Organ Donor Awareness.
Okay.
And our idea was to create awareness, and we passed out millions of organ donor cards and explained to people that you have to not only sign the card, but discuss it with your family because they can overturn it. And also, this is something else. Organs work better with the same ethnicity. Mm-hmm. So, we as African Americans need to get organs for us.
Right.
And so it is, you can switch them, but it is better because there's a genetic component to it. So here again, it's just a lack of knowledge. It is. I think most people would do it if they knew it. If everyone said, I'll donate my organs, if every person said that, it's not going to affect their lives and nothing will happen. And it's our job to say, look, they're not going to kill you for your organ. That's
what I was about to ask you. How do you get people over that fear? Because when you go to the doctor, you think, man, if I go in here, for this, if I go in here to get this wart removed, they might try to take me out, man, and take my heart. And
okay. That's a fair, because every 5 or 6 years you hear that. It's a fair question. Well, guess what? There are more people dying than organs needed. So, therefore, if everyone said, I will donate my organs, then there's no need to.
So why is the list so long? If it's
because people aren't doing it. A very small percentage of people are donating their organs.
Okay.
So if it was like, if we did something like, once you get a driver's license, then you're automatically in, and it's up to you to opt out. Right. That's fine. I have no problem opting out. If you want to opt out, it's on you.
This dude is a serious proponent of organ donation.
If you want to opt out, I have no problem. I get it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Religion isn't the issue. But the thing is that I think a lot of people just don't think about it. They don't know what to do, and they don't discuss it with their family. But I wish that everyone can go to something called the transplant games, or talk to an organ donor family. Or it's unreal to hear their stories of how Wendy's first organ came from a kid that was below 10 years old, and she needed a liver. And eventually, she wrote this amazing letter. She never met them. She wrote this letter to this family. And when I met the families, they come with the pictures of their children that have passed away, and they donated the organs. And then they meet the family, and it's amazing because they really feel like my child is living on, or my person is living on, or the one that gets the organ. And it's like, I can't believe you gave me life. And you took the most difficult time in your life, and you gave me the greatest time of my life. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. I think if more people heard those stories, they would say, wow, I didn't think of it that way.
Man, you know, one of the stories that, you're right, one of the stories that moved me, man, we actually covered the story on our Good Spy stories that we do at the top of the show. This woman gave this guy the organ, her father's heart. Her father was murdered, and she gave this guy her father's heart. And the guy walked her down the aisle when she got married.
Oh my goodness, you can't. I mean, it's.
I was like, whoa,
So it was like
that touched me, man.
It was like
I was
her
like,
father was walking her down. Her father was right there with her.
yeah. So
You can't make it up.
So yeah, I'm donating my organs also, man. I mean, but I was already there. But yeah,
That got me right there a little bit.
yeah, that was something else, man. That was something else. Have you heard about the stories where the black people that are being murdered in Chicago, supposedly there's an incentive for black people to be murdered because they're using these black kids' organs and stuff to serve the rich elite?
Right. We've heard the stories. Yeah, and I think every story you hear like that needs to be publicly fessed out, because all it does is it hurts the cause of everyone. And yes, I've heard it. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, it's not true. You know what? My issue isn't whether it's true or not. It's we need to fess it out to make sure that
At least take it out.
Yeah,
Let's check
because
it out.
and there is no bad story until we know it isn't. So
Right.
I think that I'm not one to just blow things off. I'm saying, hey, if we even think that's possible, we should actually go in and find out, because we don't need those stories, especially in our world, and especially for people of color. I'm a black man. I've got a 22-year-old son. I have a 5-week-old grandbaby.
How do you pronounce your son's name?
Bakim.
Bakim.
Yeah, Bakim. Yeah.
And he just graduated from combat.
He's been in the Army 2 years now.
Right.
And the Army did 3 things. They got his sense together. They got him his wife and got me a grandbaby. So,
Right.
In 2 years. I mean, he's quick. So. He's a pretty amazing kid, and I'm really proud of him. And
Bakim.
Yep, Bakim. And he's a beautiful wife and beautiful little baby. And I get a
Right.
picture every Friday. She was born 5 weeks ago yesterday.
Right. Nice, man. Nice. Now, but you and here's the thing. This is what I wanted to ask you about. You're a vegan, right? Now you've been a vegan.
I've
how
been
long?
a vegan. Well, I'm not now, but I was a vegan.
You was
Yes,
a vegan.
yeah,
When
was-
did you
I was a
switch
vegan,
it?
and even now I'll go weeks and months and then stop and this kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I was basically a vegan towards the end of my career.
Right.
So even I first became a vegan in 1989.
Right.
When I turned 28. And I was mostly a vegan all the way through the rest of my career, which was all my personal best. So you can be successful.
So it helped you win some medals.
Oh, absolutely. And it started for me because I wanted to lose some weight.
Yeah.
And then I realized I could finally eat like a normal human being. It wasn't a matter of the type of food, because you think, like everyone says, well, gosh, if you don't eat meat, what did you eat? And I'm like, well, there's 7 other things on the plate. When you go to a Thanksgiving dinner, there's macaroni and cheese, and there's greens, and
Right.
and all this, and rice. And so that's what I did. And then I've always had a cook since the 1980s, and I always joke and say to guys, everyone went to Vegas, I hired a cook.
Right.
So, and she came up with these amazing recipes, and when I was a vegan, she would make spinach lasagna. She came up with this wonderful recipe for it's like meat. Spaghetti. It would be vegetarian pasta, but she would take lentils and she'd chop the lentils up, season them and saute them, and then put them into tomato sauce. So you would think you're eating like a meat sauce. So she came up with these really interesting recipes, and people would come over and they'd ask for those recipes. They wouldn't say, well, I don't want the meat. I'm here. Let's do it, because it was just creative. And for me, it kept my weight down, and I felt healthy. And my personal best in the 100 long jump were done over 30. When most people think that you're on the decline,
Right.
I actually had my best when I turned 30.
Right. Now, being a vegan for how many years? How many?
I would say total probably over the years about 10 years.
So you were a vegan for 10 years. How do you go back to eating meat after being a vegan for 10 years?
I never if I was a vegan for 5 years or 10 years or 7 years, I don't just go tomorrow and say, "Oh, I'm gonna get some ribs."
Right.
I just started kind of eating a little bit here, and then just added some stuff in, and then went there,
Right.
and then got all the way. Then I said, "Oh, those ribs look good. I tried something last week." And then I'll
Right.
say, I don't feel like eating that anymore, or maybe I put on a little weight because of the fat, and I'll say, oh, I go back. So that's kind of, I never just hit it. It just kind of ebb and flow back and forth.
Right. Now, I know this is going to be a tough question because, you've been in the game for a minute, and I know you got plenty stories.
Oh, goodness.
But what's one of the most memorable stories, good or bad, that you have experienced in your career?
I would say it was a summer, 1991. I went to the national championships, and Leroy Burrell, who's the coach now,
Right.
and my 6-year younger teammate set the road record in the 100 meters on me. Like I said, I know he did it because I watched it. And then after that race,
And how old was he?
He was 24. He was 24. Yeah, 24, and I was 29 at the time.
Okay.
And so I was at a crossroads, and I said, well, wow, the 24-year-old guy's beating me. So I went to Europe, and he beat me in a couple races, and I said, well, if I'm there, I'm not going to just hang on and be third, then fourth, and fifth. It's time to move on. So I went to my coach, and I said, what's the deal? And then he just tore into me, man, you're messing up. You're not running your race. You're not doing this. He really got on me. So I went and trained hard that summer, let those guys go to Europe and did my thing. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to come
and
back.
And they think they passed you. They think you done. You
and
fell
he came
off.
back, and Daddy came out and slayed him over there. But the thing about it is that Leroy and I both broke the world record, and it was a very close race. And I was 30 now, and so I went across that line. And then in that same meet, so he set the world record in June and August. And then the first time he won, the second time he didn't. And then we ran on a relay that set the world record together again. And then I jumped 29 feet 3 days before that. So all of my best came like in this 1 week, and it was a meet in Tokyo in 91, and that's without question. And the greatest thing about it, the relay was the last event, and Leroy was on that team as well. And this is an unknown fact a lot of people don't know. My last European and U.S. race were in Berlin, in the same stadium that Jesse Owens ran.
Right.
And my last race ever was at Robertson Stadium. Well, both of those races, I just ran a relay.
All history.
Yeah, and Leroy was on those two teams. So Leroy and I retired and ran the exact same last race together. And so he stopped we both stopped in 97. So we were linked, and now we're coaching together.
Now, was that coincidental, or it just happened like? Was it coincidental, or did you guys like plan it?
It was coincidental because I was 36, and he was 30, and he'd been having his foot problem, and he was just kind of over it. And then Coach Tellez, our coach, retired from Houston, and they kind of looked at us to say who will do it, and that wasn't where I wanted to go then, and he took that job, and he's been there 18 years now.
Right.
And it's exciting because he said, my son is growing up, and my kids are here, and he was married. He had a wonderful wife, and she was an Olympic gold medalist. And he said, I'm just going to retire and take this job at Houston. And who would have thought that here we are 18 years later, and now we're back together. It's my third year. Mm-hmm. And we have a team now that's good enough that could win a national championship this year. And I will be really upset if we don't win it the following year. And I think from a sprint perspective, we're going to have the greatest sprint program in the history of the NCAA. Mm-hmm. Now, this year, and for the years to come. And we're setting that up because we're going to have kids on the 2020 team. And it's really exciting what's going on right now, what we're doing, and I'm just glad to be able to do it with Leroy.
Right. And talk to me about your foundation.
Well, the foundation really, it's always been about physical education and wellness through family involvement. What I like to do is talk about, people say, oh, kids don't go outside and play anymore. Well, we know they don't. And we try to say, oh, it's because there's fear of this and that. Well, a lot of it is because the parents don't interact. They just drive in the driveway, garage, and go. Sister Sally down the street doesn't really know little Johnny and call little Johnny's mama and say, little Johnny was down the street. So what I try to do is get them outside. And I said, for Christmas, if you're going to buy your kid a bike, buy yourself a bike too, as a parent. And then go biking. The kids let's go for a picnic today. They don't know that you're going biking, or get them some running shoes and say, let's go walk by the park. That's a kind of a trick them, and say, man, and basketball. The kid, they love to play basketball. I say, you know what? If you want to, they get a basketball for the kid. They take them out there. They take them to these camps all the time. I said, I guarantee you, if you went and got some information on how to just shoot free throws, that's it. As a dad or a mom,
Right.
and you just spend a day shooting free throws together, I guarantee you that child will say that's much better than any game he ever played.
Man, why do I feel like you've always spoken like this, as far as like having this certain this wisdom, you know, like
It's you know what? I just watched my parents
Right.
do it, and when they started the Willingboro Track Club that I was in, we had 300 or 400 kids out there every summer, and so they
Yeah.
couldn't just do it over me, and they couldn't like, oh my God, what's my son doing? They had all these people, but every time I ran a race, they were like, you didn't push your out of the back. I'm like, how did they see that?
Right.
So I'm just without knowing it, I just kind of came up and became my father with my mother's influence, and that's
Right.
the way it is. And even now, my mother's 87, and she lives here in town,
Right.
and I have breakfast with her almost every day.
Right. Nice, man. Are you think you're a mother's boy or what?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because Dad was off the chain. You know?
Right.
You know, Dad would be 90 now, so you can imagine what he was like growing up in the 60s
Right.
and 70s.
Right.
You know, the kids nowadays, I'm not sure all of them know what the look is. You
Right.
know? I learned what the look was by 3.
Right.
So,
Real talk, man. My kids know what the look is.
bam.
Man, how can the people get in touch with you?
Well, the best way, if you want to any information, the best way now is 2 things. I'm on Twitter,
Okay.
Carl_Lewis. You know, that's it. You know,
Right.
at Carl_Lewis. The Perfect Method is also on Twitter, and the Perfect Method will be online first quarter. And then, of course, at the University of Houston, I'm a coach there. So that's really the best way. The easiest, quickest way is just to find me, you know, Carl_Lewis.
Right.
That's my Twitter feed, and you can always get me there.
Right. And what if they want to donate some money to the foundation
what?
or volunteer or whatever?
Okay, the best way there is to email. That's a quick way. Carl@carllewis.com.
Gotcha.
So that's simple. The first thing I did was way back in 2001. I got my name, so I own my name. So Carl@carllewis.com. You can always get me directly.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest champions in the history of civilization, Carl Lewis. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you, my man. Thank you.
Well, y'all, it's been a pleasure. It's been a thrill to let you know how I feel. Some may grit and picture fit, but the watch on my wrist say that's all you're going to get. Until next time, y'all be good. If you can't be good, be great. No more talk.